As Hurricane Melissa continues its push through the Bahamas, humanitarian organizations are ramping up efforts to support vulnerable communities. The Red Cross has been closely monitoring the storm and activating response plans across the region. Joining us now is Edison Sumner, president of the Bahamas Red Cross, to share how the organization is preparing and what the public needs to know as the storm advances. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
It's great to have you here with us. So what activations or preparedness measures has the Red Cross put in place ahead of Hurricane Melissa's impact?
So we've been meeting since we learned that this hurricane was being formed to put our disaster team in place, who already started putting our teams in place of our volunteers and making sure that all of our protocols for disaster risk management and mitigation were being implemented. So that was done, and we were simply waiting to see if the storm actually would approach and hit the country so that we can then effect those protocols and get everyone involved who needs to be involved. So our initial response really was to ensure that our volunteer base and our assets were ready to be deployed if and when the need arose.
So we know that communication is critical during disaster. So how is the Red Cross keeping in touch with its teams on the ground on multiple islands?
So we have WhatsApp groups established throughout our network for different groups across the country, and it's been very effective. It keeps us current on all of our communication strategies. And so that's the mode that we've been using for the most of our communication strategies. Most people still have access to their WhatsApp platforms, whether through data or Wi-Fi. And for that reason, we've been able to stay current with all of our contacts throughout the country, not losing any connection with them at all. But if the need arises and it becomes a real exigency, then we also have satellite phones that we can put into play. But so far, that has not been necessary.
Great. So how is the Red Cross coordinating with government agencies and regional partners to support response efforts?
So the Red Cross is an auxiliary to the government. Whenever there's a disaster that happens, the Red Cross is ordinarily the first call the government makes. So our teams already been identified. Our teams have been engaged. We are out there helping with shelter management. We are there assisting with distribution of supplies to those within the shelters and in our communities. So we remain actively engaged with the DRMA in their work. So we are part of that team as well. So we're there to support the work of the government. We're not ordinarily out there first and foremost. We're there to support what's happening, and that's how we've been positioned. So we are literally there to support the government's efforts in disaster risk management and recovery.
So then what key safety messages or advice should the public keep in mind as the storm approaches?
Listen to the authority. Pay attention. Don't be heroes trying to go out there and do your own thing by going out and trying to assess damages and thinking that the storm is something to play with, because it's not. Too many people go outside and think that is, ooh, this nice breeze, and they find fun outside in the hurricane. This is not a fun time to be outside. So the best advice we can give is pay attention. Stay sheltered in place wherever you are. If you're in the path of the storm, listen to the authorities and do not venture outside until you're given an all clear to do so.
So once the conditions allow, what will be the Red Cross's main focus in terms of immediate response and recovery phase? So
we would do an assessment. We have an assessment we would call a situational report. We would go out, we would have do assessments in the community, speaking to people who are engaged and who have been impacted by the storm to find out where the needs are. We would then begin to source those needs from our assets, our inventory, supporting those persons as best as we could and those families as best as we could. So the very first thing we would do is what we call a needs assessment or situational assessment to determine what is required, what support is needed. Once we made that determination, we then tap into our resources, whether it's local or international, so that we can begin to pull those resources together to provide that support to those communities. And if it is that we provide support directly to the government, for example, so in the shelters we would have been providing certain support to them with regards to giving cots, wheelchairs, blankets, toys for kids to play with while they're in the shelters so they keep themselves occupied. those are the things that we have been doing, but after the storm passes, we have to do an assessment in the areas to see where the damages are, whether we respond to individual needs by providing clothing, medical supplies, personal items, or if we're able to support them with repairs to their structures, their homes, by providing tarpaulins or other supplies that they might need, water, medicines, hygiene kits, etc. We've got all that in our inventory, and when we need to source more, we will do so.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to you, Mr. Sumner, and your team at the Red Cross. Sounds like all preparations are in place, and you're just ready to go where you needed to
just waiting for the call.
Assistance. So
yes.
Thank you so much. Well, stay tuned. Live coverage of Tracking Melissa continues right here on the ZNS Network.